Picture this. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. The sun is blazing. The air feels heavy. A man in his early 70s finishes watering his garden. He wipes the sweat from his forehead, smiles, and thinks that I've handled hotter summers than this. Then something changes. He feels a little dizzy. His mouth is dry. His heart starts beating faster. But he ignores it. After all, he's survived every summer before. 20 minutes later, standing feels exhausting. 30 minutes after that, he's so confused he can't remember where he left his phone. An hour later, his family is rushing him to the emergency room. Not because the heat came out of nowhere, because 6 small mistakes quietly pushed his body past its limit. And here's the frightening part. One of those 6 mistakes happens almost every single morning, in almost every home, and you've probably never once thought of it as dangerous. I'll tell you which one it is when we get there. This happens to thousands of older adults every summer. Most don't realize they're in danger until it's almost too late, because heat rarely announces itself. It whispers, a little thirst, a little fatigue, a mild headache, one skipped glass of water, one extra trip outside, one medication that changes how your body handles heat. Each mistake seems harmless, but together, they can become life-threatening. In this video, I'll show you the 6 most common heat wave mistakes older adults make, and more importantly, exactly how to avoid them. One of these mistakes hides inside your medicine cabinet. Another can turn your own living room into the most dangerous place you'll be all day. And the last one is the mistake emergency doctors wish every older adult recognized before the next heat wave. I'm Dr. William Mercer. For years, I've studied medical research and public health guidance on healthy aging, turning complex science into practical advice you can actually use. I'm not here to frighten you, and I'm certainly not here to sell you supplements or miracle products. I'm here for one reason, to help you protect yourself before the next heat wave catches you by surprise. Let's get started. Let's start with something most people don't realize. Heat isn't dangerous just because it's hot. It becomes dangerous when your body can no longer cool itself fast enough. Think of your body like an air conditioner. On a normal day, it keeps everything running smoothly. But as the temperature rises, it has to work harder and harder. Eventually, it reaches its limit. Your body works the same way. Its cooling system relies on 2 things: sweating and moving heat away from your body. When sweat evaporates, it carries heat away from your skin. At the same time, your heart pumps more blood toward the surface of your body, allowing that heat to escape. When everything works together, your body stays at a safe temperature. But after the age of 60, that cooling system becomes less efficient. You may sweat less, your sense of thirst becomes weaker, your heart may respond more slowly. Some medications can make it even harder to stay cool, and certain medical conditions make extreme heat even more challenging. Here's the problem. By the time you feel dangerously hot, your body may already be under serious stress. And that's exactly why the first mistake is so dangerous. It starts with something that happened to a man who never once thought of himself as careless. Mistake number 1, waiting until you're thirsty. I'll call him Robert, 76 years old, healthy, active, still mowing his own lawn every Saturday morning. One hot afternoon, trimming his hedges, he stopped for a second, wiped the sweat off his glasses, and told himself, I'll grab some water later. Later never came. Within minutes, he felt weak. He figured he just needed a short break. Instead, he became so dizzy he couldn't stand. At the hospital, doctors found something Robert never expected. He'd been slowly dehydrating for hours, and he never once felt thirsty. Here's the surprising part almost nobody knows. Thirst is not an early warning sign. It's a late one. Think about the fuel gauge in your car. Would you wait until the tank was completely empty before filling it? Of course not. The gauge warns you long before you run out. As we get older, our thirst signal doesn't work the same way. Your brain constantly monitors your body's fluid levels. When it senses dehydration, it tells you you're thirsty. But after the age of 60, that signal often comes later than it used to. Which means, by the time you think, I should probably drink some water, your body may already be dehydrated. So let me ask you something. When you're reading, watching television, working in the garden, or spending time with family, do you drink water because it's time, or only when you finally feel thirsty? Here's another myth worth clearing up. Many people think dehydration only happens if you're sweating heavily. It doesn't. On hot days, your body loses water all the time, through breathing, through your skin, through normal body functions. Even while you're sitting indoors, you don't have to exercise. You don't have to be dripping with sweat. Fluid loss happens quietly. So what's the solution? Don't wait for thirst. Drink water regularly throughout the day. Keep a bottle or glass within easy reach. Take a few small sips every hour during extreme heat. Small, steady amounts are often easier than drinking a large amount all at once. One important reminder. If you have heart failure, kidney disease, or another condition that limits how much fluid you should drink, follow your healthcare professional's advice. The goal isn't to drink more, it's to drink the right amount for your body. Water does more than satisfy thirst. It helps your body stay cool. Without enough water, your natural cooling system starts to struggle. And the next mistake makes that job even harder because it hides inside something almost all of us drink before we've even opened our eyes all the way. Mistake number 2, relying on coffee or alcohol to stay hydrated. Here's a myth I want to clear up first because it surprises almost everyone. Many people believe coffee, tea, soda, and even alcohol hydrate the body just like water during a heat wave. They don't. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to tell you to give up your morning cup. If you drink coffee regularly, that daily cup isn't automatically dehydrating you. Most regular coffee drinkers adapt to it. So coffee itself isn't the real problem. The problem begins when coffee replaces water. During a heat wave, it's easy to think, I've already had 2 coffees, an iced tea, maybe a soda. So you assume you've had enough to drink. Your body doesn't see it that way. Now let's talk about alcohol, because the science here is a little more serious. Alcohol increases fluid loss. It can affect your balance, slow your judgment, and make it harder to notice the early signs of overheating. Combine that with normal age-related changes, a weaker sense of thirst, less sweating, medications that may already affect how your body handles heat, and each small risk starts stacking on top of the last. A retired couple I know of loved spending summer evenings on their patio, watching the sunset, enjoying a couple of cold beers. It felt completely normal. Until one heat wave, when hours outside without replacing those fluids, left them both unusually weak the next morning. One of them needed emergency treatment for dehydration. Not because alcohol is poisonous, because it quietly replaced the water their bodies needed. So what's the takeaway? You don't have to give up coffee. You don't have to avoid the occasional drink. Just don't let them replace water. If you enjoy coffee, drink water too. If you enjoy tea or soda, drink water too. If you choose to drink alcohol, be even more careful about staying hydrated, unless your healthcare professional has advised otherwise. Water comes first. Everything else comes after. Now, the next mistake surprises almost everyone I share it with, because it has nothing to do with what you drink, nothing to do with exercise, and nothing to do with being outside. In fact, it can happen while you're sitting comfortably in your own recliner. Stick with me, because this one is hiding somewhere very unexpected. Mistake number 3, not realizing your medications can change how your body handles heat. Quick question before we go further. Do you know whether any of your daily medications change how your body handles heat? Most people don't, and that's exactly the problem. Think of your body like a car climbing a steep hill. Normally, the radiator keeps the engine cool. But imagine part of that radiator becomes blocked. The car still runs, but on a hot day or during a long climb, it overheats much sooner. Some medications can affect your body in a similar way. For example, some blood pressure medicines can make dehydration more risky. Diuretics, often called water pills, remove extra fluid from the body. They're essential for many people, but during extreme heat, they may increase the risk of dehydration if you aren't replacing enough fluids. Other medications, including some used for allergies, bladder problems, depression, or Parkinson's disease, may reduce sweating or make it harder to notice the early signs of overheating. Again, that doesn't mean these medications are unsafe. It simply means you need to be more aware during hot weather. I'll call her Linda, 68 years old. She stayed indoors, avoided heavy activity, kept a fan running. She believed she was doing everything right. Then, one afternoon, she became unusually confused. Her daughter thought she had an infection. Doctors discovered something else entirely: severe dehydration. The weather hadn't changed. Her medications hadn't changed. What changed was that no one had ever told her that heat plus medication required extra attention. Now, let me make one thing absolutely clear. Never stop a prescribed medication on your own because of a heat wave. Stopping blood pressure medicine, heart medication, or any important prescription without medical advice can be far more dangerous than the heat itself. Instead, ask one simple question. If you're over 60 or take several medications, ask your doctor or pharmacist, do any of my medications increase my risk during extreme heat? That one conversation can help you prepare before the next heat wave arrives. The answer may be as simple as drinking fluids more consistently, watching for symptoms more closely, or knowing when to seek medical help. Knowledge protects you. Fear doesn't. Now, you might be thinking, fine, I'll just stay indoors. That sounds like the safest possible choice. Picture this instead. A house that looks perfectly cool from the outside, curtains drawn, fan humming, and is quietly one of the most dangerous rooms in town by 6 p.m. That's mistake number 4, and it catches more people off guard than any other on this list. Mistake number 4, assuming your home is automatically safe. Many people believe that once they're indoors, they're safe from the heat. Unfortunately, that's not always true. During a long heat wave, your home can become just as dangerous as the outdoors. Think of a brick house sitting in the sun all day. Hour after hour, it absorbs heat. Even after sunset, that heat slowly spreads back into the rooms inside. That's why some homes actually feel hottest in the evening, not at noon. Many older adults avoid using the air conditioner because they're worried about the electricity bill. Others believe a fan is enough. Sometimes it is, but during extreme heat, sometimes it isn't. Here's why. A fan only moves air. If the room is already very hot, it may move hot air around instead of cooling you. Imagine sitting in front of a hairdryer. The air is moving, but it isn't cooling you. The same thing can happen in an overheated room. Temperature matters, humidity matters, ventilation matters. I'll call him Frank. He lived alone and often said, "I've never needed air conditioning before." During one severe heat wave, his daughter stopped by unexpectedly. The moment she walked inside, she noticed the house felt almost as hot as it was outside. Frank looked exhausted. He answered slowly, but he insisted he was fine. A few hours later, he was in the hospital with heat exhaustion. Not because he spent too much time outside, because his own home had quietly become dangerous. So remember this. During a heat wave, check the temperature inside your home, not just outside. Keep blinds or curtains closed during the hottest part of the day. Use air conditioning if you have it. If you don't, spend a few hours somewhere air-conditioned. A library, a shopping mall, a community cooling center. Even a short break in a cooler place helps your body recover. Never underestimate the power of cool air, shade, and rest. Heat builds up slowly. Your body needs time to cool down, too. And on the subject of good intentions, here's a funny truth. The people most likely to end up in the ER from heat aren't the ones who feel lazy. They're the hardest workers in the neighborhood. If that sounds like you, the next mistake is written for you specifically. Mistake number 5, trying to push through the heat. I'll finish mowing the lawn first. Just 30 more minutes in the garden. I've worked outside my whole life. I don't want to become lazy. Those thoughts sound responsible, admirable even. But heat doesn't care how determined you are. Every time your muscles work, they generate heat. Your heart beats faster. And while your body is trying to cool itself, the sun keeps adding even more heat. Now your cooling system has 2 jobs instead of 1. Eventually, it can't keep up. Think about carrying groceries. 1 bag feels easy. 2 bags take more effort. 6 heavy bags become exhausting. Working outside during extreme heat adds another heavy load to a body that's already working overtime. I'll call him George, a retired school teacher who walked the same route every morning at 10 o'clock, rain or shine. One July morning, the temperature climbed much faster than expected. Halfway through his walk, something changed. He stopped sweating. At first, he thought that was a good sign. It wasn't. His body was losing its ability to cool itself, a warning sign you should never ignore. Many people assume more sweating always means greater danger. Sometimes the opposite is true. If you're extremely hot, then suddenly stop sweating, and you also feel weak, dizzy, confused, or faint, seek emergency medical help immediately. It could be heat stroke, and heat stroke is a medical emergency. Here's an easy way to remember the difference. Heat exhaustion usually causes heavy sweating, weakness, dizziness, nausea, headache, muscle cramps, Feeling faint. Heat stroke is much more serious. Watch for confusion, difficulty speaking, unusual behavior, loss of consciousness, seizures, or a dangerously high body temperature. If you suspect heat stroke, call emergency services immediately. Don't wait. Start cooling the person while help is on the way, but emergency medical care is essential. So what's the safest approach? Move outdoor activities to early morning or later in the evening. Take frequent breaks. Wear lightweight, loose-fitting clothing and a wide-brimmed hat. And most importantly, listen to your body while it's still whispering. Don't wait until it's forced to shout. Which brings us to the final mistake, and it's the one that ties everything else together. Mistake number 6, ignoring the early warning signs. If you've stayed with me this far, this may be the most important lesson in the entire video. Heat illness almost never begins with someone collapsing. It begins with whispers, a headache that feels different, more fatigue than usual, muscle cramps you blame on gardening, feeling unusually irritable, trouble concentrating, skipping a meal because you just don't feel hungry, saying, "I just need to sit down for a minute." None of those sound like emergencies. That's exactly what makes them dangerous. Think of your body like a car dashboard. The warning light comes on long before the engine fails. Ignore that warning, and a small problem can become a very serious one. I'll call her Margaret, 73 years old. During a week-long heat wave, she developed a mild headache every afternoon and blamed it on allergies. The next day, she wasn't hungry. Then came unusual fatigue. A few days later, she struggled to find simple words while talking to her daughter. Thankfully, her daughter realized something was wrong, cooled Margaret down, and got her the help she needed. Margaret recovered, and later said something her daughter never forgot. "I thought every symptom had a different explanation." That's what makes heat illness so deceptive. People blame the headache on stress, the dizziness on standing too quickly, the cramps on getting older, the fatigue on poor sleep. But during a heat wave, those symptoms are often connected. So let me ask you something. If someone you love suddenly became dizzy, stopped eating, looked confused, and seemed unusually tired, would you tell them to push through it? Of course not. So don't say it to yourself. One of the greatest dangers of heat illness is that it affects the very organ you rely on to recognize danger, your brain. As dehydration becomes more severe, judgment becomes less reliable. People may become confused, forgetful, sleepy, or insist they're perfectly fine when they clearly aren't. That's why family members, friends, and neighbors often notice the problem first. Sometimes the most important thing you can do isn't give medicine. It's make a phone call, knock on a door, or ask 3 simple questions. Have you had enough water today? How are you feeling? Is your home staying cool? Those simple conversations can save lives, especially for someone who lives alone. Before we finish, let's lock these 6 mistakes into your memory, not as a list, but as 6 pictures. A water bottle you keep within reach, filled before you get thirsty. A coffee cup sitting next to a full glass of water, not instead of it. A medicine bottle and 1 honest question asked to your pharmacist. A house with the blinds drawn tight against the afternoon sun. A sun hat worn on a walk taken before 9 in the morning. And a dashboard warning light, the one you never ignore. 6 images, 6 habits. 1 summer kept a little safer. Your heatwave plan. So what should you actually do? The night before a very hot day. Checkmark, check the weather forecast. Checkmark, fill your water bottle. Checkmark, close your blinds or curtains before the afternoon sun. Checkmark, finish errands early if you can. Checkmark, set out light-colored, lightweight clothing. Checkmark, move outdoor activities to the early morning or evening. Checkmark, and if your home may become too hot, know where you'll go to cool down before you need it. Preparation is always easier than recovery. There's one more simple habit that can make a real difference. Don't wait for an emergency to check on someone. Create a simple routine. 1 phone call, 1 text message, 1 knock on the door. Those small actions save lives every summer. Here's one last myth. People often say, "I've survived hot summers my whole life." That's true, but aging changes your body's cooling system. Not your determination, not your character, your physiology. There's nothing weak about respecting that. That's wisdom. One of my favorite patients told me something after recovering from heat exhaustion. "I spent 40 years learning to work harder. Now, I'm learning to work smarter. I couldn't have said it better. Before we finish, I want you to think of one person. Maybe your father, maybe your mother, maybe a friend or a neighbor who lives alone. Or maybe you're thinking of yourself. If this video made you think of someone, please share it with them. The right information at the right time can prevent an emergency that never has to happen. And now I'd like to hear from you. How hot has it been where you live this summer? And which of these 6 mistakes surprised you the most? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every one of them. One final reminder. Everything we've discussed today is for educational purposes. If you or someone around you becomes confused, loses consciousness, or shows signs of heat stroke, call emergency services immediately. Every minute matters. Remember the gentleman from the beginning of this video? He didn't end up in the emergency room because of one terrible decision. He got there because of a series of small ones. One skipped glass of water, one ignored warning sign, one extra hour in the heat, one assumption that everything would be fine. The good news? Every one of those choices has a better alternative. One glass of water, one cooler room, one earlier walk, one phone call, one moment of listening to your body. Staying healthy isn't usually about doing something extraordinary. It's about doing the ordinary things before they become emergencies. The heat doesn't always give a second chance, but it does give warning signs. Listen to them. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people you love. And until next time, stay sharp.
Dr. William Mercer.